In a previous video, we compared the M1 Pro to a Ryzen 5900X and an RTX 3070 Ti using Optix. Back then, the RTX 3070 Ti absolutely smoked everything, presumably due to the ray tracing cores on the card. One question that was unanswered in that video is how the M1 Pro compares to an RTX 3070 Ti when not using its ray tracing cores. To answer that question, we decided to run extra benchmarks rendering Blender scenes using CUDA. Let's begin by going over the test setup. On the M1 side, we're going to measure a 16-inch MacBook Pro with an M1 Pro processor and 16 GB of RAM. The RTX 3070 Ti is in a desktop PC containing a Ryzen 5900X and 64 GB of RAM. To be very specific, in this video we'll measure each of the following in Blender: the M1 Pro GPU, the NVIDIA RTX 3070 Ti in CUDA, and the NVIDIA RTX 3070 Ti using Optix. Similar to the previous video, we've tested 3 Blender demo scenes all rendered at 2560 by 1440 with 400 samples. The video captures were done externally to ensure the rendering wasn't also bogged down by recording on the same machine. Also note the captures from the Mac have some weird color error I wasn't able to resolve. Links to the demo scenes are given in the video description below. The first scene we'll be running comparisons with is the junk shot by Alex Trevino. On your top left, you'll see the CUDA measurement. On the top right, you'll see Optix. Finally, you can see the M1 Pro at the bottom. The playback here is sped up by 8x. We'll go over the results afterwards. CUDA definitely takes longer than Optix as expected, but the gap between the M1 and CUDA is still huge, where the M1 takes 4x the time to complete the same render. We also gain a bit of insight into how CUDA compares to Optix in Blender, where CUDA takes 1.7x the Optix time to complete the render. Now we move on to our second scene, Party Tug 6 AM by Ian Hubert. The playback here is sped up by 14x and lasts about a minute. Skip ahead about a minute to go straight to the results if desired. Similar to the previous video, this scene is not very friendly to the M1. The M1 takes 5.2x the time to render the scene compared to CUDA. CUDA versus Optix is basically the same in this scene, where CUDA takes 1.7x the Optix time to complete the render. Our final scene here is the racing car scene by Poked Studio. For this scene, playback is sped up by 13x. Again, feel free to skip ahead if you want to go straight to the results. Here we're closer to the junk shop numbers, where the M1 takes 4.2x the time to complete the render when compared to CUDA. In this scene, we see the biggest gap between CUDA and Optix, where Optix takes half the time to render the scene. So to conclude, the gap between the RTX 3070 Ti and M1 Pro shrinks when using CUDA because, of course, CUDA isn't taking advantage of the RT cores. I'd really be interested to figure out what the M1 Pro maps to into the desktop GPU space. Unfortunately, I don't have the whole range of the 10 series, 20 series, and 30 series cards. In any case, that's all I have for this video, and I hope it was informative. Thanks for watching.